This is Purpose Driven Life, Part 4, the next gift box that we are going to open. As we open and unveil our purpose, our calling is simply this: your purpose is to become like Jesus Christ. That's what you're called to do. That is your purpose. In fact, Paul's letter to the group of Christians that were living in Ephesus, he told them in chapter 4 of that letter that the reason that God gives pastors to churches, the reason God gives leaders to churches, elders to churches, is so that they can help that church, those individuals, grow up to become more like Jesus. Look at this from Ephesians chapter 4, the second part of verse 15. I've given you these people so that they can ensure that you are growing in every way more and more like Christ. It's that simple, who is the head of his body, the church. So your calling, my calling, is to become more like Christ. That is so simple. It's not easy. But it is incredibly simple, because the truth is that the high points of life are normally not those times when we are shaped to become like Jesus. When everything is going great for me, when I'm not stressed, when I'm not troubled, when I'm not experiencing fear, those are normally not the times when I'm being shaped into Jesus, into something like Jesus Christ. Those moments when I'm about to consume a half-pound medium rare hickory smoked bacon cheeseburger with blue cheese crumbles and a grilled bun, that may help me meet Jesus sooner, but it is not going to help me become more like Jesus. That's not the way it works. In fact, the truth of the matter is that the Bible and 2,000 years of experience is what we have learned is the most effective way at making us more like Jesus are simply three things. And they're not really fun things: suffering, temptation, and jerks. The Bible and 2,000 years of church history have taught us that the most effective means for becoming like Jesus include suffering, temptation, and jerks. And that's it. So what I want to do with the time that we have left is give us some real practical ways to use suffering, temptation, and jerks so that we can squeeze every opportunity out of those three things to become more like Jesus. And so here is the really tough truth. God loves you enough to let you suffer. God loves you enough to let you suffer. Expect it. It is going to happen. It probably already has. We can rejoice too, or also we can rejoice too when we run into problems and trials. Huh? What are you, a masochist? But watch. We can rejoice also, or two, when we run into problems and trials, for we know that they help us develop endurance. Okay, so it's like working out. And endurance develops strength of character. And character strengthens our confident hope in salvation. Oh, listen, our goal is happiness. God's goal is maturity. Our goal is peace. God's goal is maturity. Our focus is on the here and now, as if the here and now are all defining. God's focus is from outside of time, recognizing that we're going to live forever and that this is just a moment and that we can exploit this moment for a better forever. And so get this, just because you're suffering doesn't mean that you're being punished. It doesn't mean that you've done something wrong. It doesn't mean that you're not being blessed. It just means that God loves you enough to let you suffer sometimes. Paul makes an incredible statement here that frankly can be a little bit offensive if you're walking through tough stuff. Watch this. Remember, he's writing to people who are getting thrown in jail for being Christ followers. So they're having all kinds of issues. And he says, for our present troubles are small. What? Why? Because they won't last very long. Yet they produce for us, watch this, a glory that vastly outweighs them, that being the suffering, and lasts forever. Verse 18, look at this. So we don't look at the troubles we can see now. Rather, we fix our gaze on things that cannot be seen. For the things that we see now will soon be gone. But the things that we cannot see, those things will last forever. This is worth the price of admission, which was free, by the way. This is incredible. Bren and I are almost finished paying for college. 3 degrees, her degree, and now her graduate degree will be done in May. And so we are now entering that crazy, aggressive saving, investing time so that 20 years from now we don't have to move in with our boys, because I'm not sure they'd be nice to us. And I've come to learn that I really like investing. There's a sense of expectation. There's a sense of excitement. You do your research. You work with someone who knows what they're doing. You put your money in a given place and you watch what it does. And it's kind of exciting. It's kind of cool. Listen to me. Suffering is like investing. God takes your suffering and then he pays you interest on it that compounds, and he pays you dividends on it. And you get to cash that in for all of eternity in heaven. I don't know about you, but that pumps me up. I want to live like a billionaire in heaven. I do not want to live like I'm poor in heaven. I want to be a billionaire, and suffering now faithfully adds to my account. So bring it on, man. God will use suffering to make you more like Jesus, and that is a good thing because God pays great for well-suffered people. God pays great for suffering when we are faithful through it. He will use your suffering to make you wealthy in heaven and more like Jesus on earth. But that's not all he'll use. God will also use temptations that you and I walk through. Listen, everything God has given us to enjoy can be perverted by Satan as a temptation. Everything that God has given us to enjoy can be messed up by you and I to be turned into a temptation. Sex was invented by God on a particularly good day. Great idea. And sex is for our enjoyment, among other things. But sex is designed by God to be enjoyed within certain parameters, within marriage. And we are all constantly tempted in our culture to misuse sex in one way or another outside of the parameters for which God intended it. It's the same with everything else that God has given us for our enjoyment. Food, shopping, money, relationships, you name it. All things given to us to enjoy can be perverted and turned into temptations. God will never tempt you, but Satan will absolutely tempt you, and God can use Satan's temptations to help us grow to become more like him. Jesus was tempted in incredible ways, and you and I will be tempted too. And the last thing is just this: God's going to use jerks to make you more like him. Any jerks in your life? Don't point. Listen, it is part of God's purpose for you to become like Jesus Christ. And while there are going to be lots of times of feasting and celebrating and off-the-hook fun on earth, those times of gut-wrenching suffering, those times that temptation seems to be the only thing that you can think about, those times when the jerks are zeroing in on you to discredit you and to keep you down, those are the times when you're going to make progress in becoming more and more like Jesus. And even those times can be the best of times. Those are the times when you decide if you're going to retreat into yourself or if you're going to lean into Jesus and make progress that you can cash in for all of eternity.